particular case, we're going to do it a bit of a specific way. So I want to keep my hips facing forward. I don't want my hips to be moving around so that I don't put any pressure on my knees. What I'll do is I'll use a slight weight shift from one side to the other. And when I bring my weight on my leg, which brings the weight on the knee, I make sure my knee remains facing forward, and then allow my waist, not the hips, but the waist above to give me that slight rotation. So when I shift my weight on the other side, just allow the waist to give me the rotation. And by putting a bit more weight on my legs, this ensures that I bend my knee a little bit more, that my knees stay properly aligned with my toes, and therefore the structure of the legs remain solid. So if I'm moving towards my left, I'll be turning towards my left, and when I shift to the right, I turn to the right. So that this way I protect my knee to make sure I don't put side pressure on the articulation. And by doing so, I also start to work a little bit more the movement of the waist and dissociating the rotation from the waist from the rotation from my hips, which will be essential in the movement we'll do a little bit later today. And I can also allow my arms to reach out above the shoulders. And back around the lower area. My backhand is landing gently at the center of the lumbar area around Migmen. And my lower hand, at this point, I'm letting it reach for the iliac crest, just to have a little bit of stimulation of that area. Good. Let's see. Let's grab a chair so we can feel a little bit better again the difference between the pelvic bowl and the waist. So standing just in front of the chair first, understanding the difference between the hips and the pelvis makes some essential transformation when we start to turn and when we want to activate the movement of certain organs. If I use the edge of my palm and I place it on my lower ribs, and I take the tip of my fingers and reach out to the iliac crest and feel the bones. So the most of my palm is over the soft tissue, the waist area, and here I'm touching the two bony structure. And if I'm only turning from my pelvic bowl, you can notice that my fingers remain vertical. But if I bend my knees, almost like if I'm sitting on the edge of a bench, and I make sure that the pelvic bowl doesn't move, and I'm only turning from the waist and moving the rib cage. You can notice how here my fingers end up being in a diagonal line because the lower part is not moving, and I'm only turning the upper part. And this is where the movement of the waist come in. And this movement of the waist came primarily from the movement of the transverse abdominalis and a little bit of the obliques, but mostly the transverse in this case. And in order to feel that, this is where we're going to use our chair to really start to develop the feeling of it. Being seated, our pelvis won't be able to move, or barely. Therefore, it becomes easier to really feel that rotation through the waist and how much rotation we can get from it. If I'm working mostly for the lumbar area, then my rotation will be fairly limited, about 20 degrees. And then if I want to go further out, I need to get rotation around the 11th thoracic, the lower thoracic area, which is the vertebra that allows me to have much more rotation. But all of this starts really from the waist, and we need to keep the movement from the waist in order to have an action on the organs themselves. As I'm rotating through the waist, there's one side that gets a little compressed while the other sides start to open up. And particularly through turning with the lumbar area, this helps to have a squeezing and opening effect on the kidneys. So if I'm here and I'm turning towards my right, my left kidney gets a little squish, while the right kidney receives a little bit more space since the ribs are opening around it. And then when I come back, they both go back to a neutral position. When I turn towards my left, then it's my right kidney that gets squeezed, while the left side opens. And this little rotation here will start to have a massaging effect on the kidneys, allowing them to be squeezed a little bit so that the blood that's inside can leave a little faster. And when I release and expand the space around them, they're getting slightly pulled, which creates a vacuum, pulling more blood to it. So the kidneys are basically a filter, like a big sponge. The blood comes in through the top and passes through just through gravity, basically, and blood pressure. And then when it comes out, it's clean. And by having this little bit of a massage through this rotation of the back, I'm squeezing, opening the kidneys, making it easier for them to filter the blood and having more blood passing through so that they can do their job a little better. So this element is one element that's essential to grasp for the movement number 5 that we'll see today, which name in Tai Chi Qigong Shibashi is in a fixed posture, turning the arm. In Tai Chi, they usually call it something like repulse the monkey, which often people use also to name this movement. But the repulse the monkey in Tai Chi is done while stepping backward. Whereas in Tai Chi Qigong Shibashi, we're not moving. So we have a fixed posture. We're not going up and down. We're not moving our feet. We want the whole lower body to be stable so that we can have this particular motion of the waist and maintain the best structure through our legs to maintain the hips forward and then have the rotation happen. So in the name, we'll also talk about turning the arm. And when we speak about the arm, the Chinese character they're using specifically referred to the humerus, the part between the shoulders and the elbow. And the humerus can turn in 2 different ways. It can turn around the body, around the articulation, and then it can also turn inside the articulation. So rotating the humerus in one way will make my thumb and my palm go up, while rotating it the other way will make my palm go down. So I'll be using a combination of these 2 movements of my arm in order to get the full movement of the upper body. So I'm placing myself sideways so you can see my shoulder. When we start, we have both hands up in front of us. And as we drop one arm, we want to be particularly careful for the timing of our rotation. If here I let my elbow drop and go a little too far behind, you can notice how my shoulder is rolling forward and closing. If I do this, then lifting my arm becomes almost impossible. I can't pass the shoulder because my shoulder is locked, and therefore I'll have to kind of push back forward early on. But if as my elbow drop on a vertical line, I allow this rotation of the humerus, which bring my hand a little bit to the outside, Then this opens up the shoulder, allowing me to let my arm rise naturally up before it comes back down so I can push forward. So as I'm dropping my arm, I'm allowing the humerus to rotate onto itself to open up towards the back, which then let my arms naturally lift, bringing the hand slightly above the head. And then here, as it comes back in front of my shoulder, this is where I bring my waist back forward, pushing my hands forward in front of me. So I'll keep using the same side just so that it's easier for you guys to see it with the camera, but feel free to alternate one side to the other as I give the explanation, and then I'll do it with you on both sides. So from here, my whole torso face forward. I allow my arm to drop, and then I let my humerus start to open. Once I reach the limit, this is where my waist comes in to bring a little more openness so that my arms can go back. But you notice that my upper chest now is facing you, facing towards the camera, and that's because of the rotation from the waist. This is what allows my arm to come up, and as it drops down in front of the shoulder, then my waist will bring me back forward, pushing. If I do the same thing again, dropping my arm, rotating both the waist and the humerus together to have this opening and expansion, and then coming back and pushing forward. So doing on both sides, dropping the arm, turning through the waist, rotating the humerus, and reaching the expansion. Naturally, my hand reached just above my head, coming back down in front of the shoulder, and then bringing the waist back so the torso face forward and pushing. Dropping the arm, rotating the waist and the arm above the head, and then only allowing the waist to come back, pushing forward. We add the breathing, we have the inhale as we open up and expand towards the back. And then the exhale as we come back, pushing forward. Inhaling. Exhaling. So an important note here, don't try to go too far behind you. Allow your body to rotate as far as it can without effort. And if your arms come a little bit more to the side, that's fine. Just allowing your body to give you the angle and how open it gets. If I'm only moving my arm, and I'll do this, if for some reason my waist cannot turn or barely have any rotation for lumbar issue or anything, then my opening of my arm will be only to the side. So my arm rotates about 90 degrees, and then my arm would open here and I would push back. So if I don't have any waist rotation, my arm is to the side. I'm not trying to overly stretch behind because then it creates tension in the front of the shoulder and it's not very useful for the movement. So I'm opening here to the side, but then if I can add a little bit of rotation through my waist, I'll allow my waist to go as far as possible, which then gives me a bit more of an angle towards the back to play with, bring my palm, and then pushing. Respecting the limits that your body is giving you is how you're going to improve how much movement you can do. If I'm constantly trying to overstretch to go further, naturally my body will start to tense up because I'm not respecting it. There's safety mechanism to prevent us from hurting ourselves, and our body will actually limit us into doing less than what it's actually able to do, just to make sure we don't do something stupid. But if we respect our own limits and repeat them regularly, then the body realizes that we're not trying to overdo it, and then we'll start to release its tension, allowing the movement to become softer and softer. And then gradually, if we have an injury that prevented us from doing a specific movement, by respectfully repeating the same movement regularly, the body receives the message that it needs to improve it. Therefore, it sends out more of its surplus into healing that area because it keeps receiving the message, I need to use this and I'm doing it properly. Therefore, I have to put more energy there. And that's usually when tensions start to dissolve and the healing abilities of the body start to show up a little bit. So always be very gentle and respectful within the limit that your body is giving you. Respecting them will allow your body to heal and go further afterwards. Good. One more detail before we try doing it standing together. How do the front hand change side from one side to the other? This happens naturally through the harmony from the shoulder blades and the shoulders. As my palm in front is facing forward with the fingers up, and I'm dropping onto the other side, once I reach the extension here, naturally both of my shoulder blade will start to sink together, helping through the thoracic breathing and the opening of the chest. And this dropping of the shoulder blade creates a spiraling motion through my front arm, turning my palm up. So there's this harmony between the shoulders that drops the shoulder blades to open up this area, and this rotation helps naturally the front palm to turn. And then when I come back, my other hand just glides above it. Again, on this side, as I'm stretching and gently opening, I feel this rotation through the shoulder all the way towards my palm. And then I come back and push. Can you guys feel how the shoulders start to want to work together for this opening? If you don't quite feel it, it's okay, it's gonna come. But just to allow the movement to happen, allowing your shoulder to become as relaxed as possible will create this gentle wave through on both sides. Here. So right hand, actually when we start, we have both palms facing up because we just finished separating the clouds. Both hands come side to side, palm up. My right hand is dropping first. Here I want to make sure that my knees are bent enough to feel that my hips are solid. If my legs are too straight, then the hips become very flimsy and the rotation from the hips can happen more easily. So I want to bend my knees just a little bit to feel that my hips become more stable. As my hand is dropped, here I can feel the rotation from my waist happening, allowing the extension towards the back, bringing my hand in front of the shoulder, and here letting the waist come back, pushing my palm forward. Dropping my left hand, opening the humerus and turning from the waist, expanding as both my hands turn up towards the sky, bringing my head back forward while my torso still turned. Once my hand reaches in front of my shoulder, bringing the torso forward, pushing my palm with the other one. Inhaling. Exhaling. So as I'm inhaling, filling up the lower abdomen, dropping my hand, using the abdominal pressure to rotate, thoracic inhale, opening the ribs and turning my palm up. And when my hand reaches in front of my shoulder, gently exhaling as I relax and naturally come back into my forward-facing position. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Continue, guys. Let me see how you're doing. If you need to take a break because you're feeling tired with your arms, it's okay. If you're able to continue a little bit, that will allow me to observe globally how you guys are doing the movement. Good. Pretty good. All right. Take a break. Relaxing a little bit the shoulders, relaxing the legs. Sometimes when we're not used to this seated position, the thighs can start to feel a little crampy, so moving around. Any questions so far on this? If you have questions, feel free to open up your mic and let me know.
How are your elbows? Are you, when you make your turn, and you're coming up by and you're coming toward your shoulder, are you keeping your elbow in or out? I have a tendency to go out.
So as I reach out, my elbows, my arms are completely straight. And here, just the momentum allow my forearms to come back. So my elbow stays aligned with my shoulder so that my shoulder is open. And then once I reach here, I just allow my arms to come so the elbow keeps kind of dropping closer to the body to push forward. So it becomes very natural. If I was to keep my elbow out, then my push will go kind of sideways and doesn't really feel right. So as you get here, it just naturally drops so that you go into that forward push. It's a movement that if we try to observe each small bit, it looks like there's a ton of things to do. But if we just relax and allow the breath to guide us, it becomes easy and fluid. And the less we think about it, the easier it is to do it. It's very interesting once we reach that. Because it's a harmonious movement. So if we allow the body to express it, it becomes easier than if we try to think about all the details. Other question? Good. All right. Let's look a little bit more how the breath connects with it. Because this is also one of the key to make it simpler and not so intellectual. So I think last time I've talked about the abdominal breathing, thoracic breathing, and how we can feel the difference between the two, right? I mentioned something about it, yes? Okay. So as we breathe, we always want to start first with abdominal breathing, then we add the thoracic breathing on top. Here, as I start my movements, I allow the gravity to pull my arm down. So I'm becoming very lazy. I don't want to pull my arm. I just use gravity to drop it. And the weight of it is enough to create the movement with just that rotation of the waist. Similar to the first exercise we did, where it's the rotation of the waist that pull my arms moving around me. Here I'm using a bit of gravity and then the rotation to allow my arm to go up and come back. So I'm really using a minimum amount of effort to do this. I can do it in a very lazy way, or lazy is not, soft, often has a bit of a negative connotation in our language. So instead I'll use efficient because it sounds a lot more fancy. So I'm using my body efficiently, which is just a good lazy. And using that minimum effort to allow the movement to just gently happen. So feeling the weight of the arm and how gravity is pulling it down, and then just the rotation so that it goes back up and that I can allow it to push. As I'm inhaling, I have this downward movement that helps me connect with my legs, feel a little bit more that notion of downward gravity, up until it starts to open up and where I start to feel the thoracic breathing, which helps me to reach more towards the sky. And then on the exhale, naturally coming back through the center. So inhaling, feeling the heaviness connecting to the earth. Expanding and reaching up to the sky. And on the exhale, coming back to the center. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Doing it as softly, relax, good, lazy, efficiently as possible. And so even if my waist rotation is minimal, if my shoulders are a little blocked, I can even do it just here. A lot closer to me, a smaller movement, but I maintain the harmony through my body, which is what's essential. It's not trying to do a big movement as open as possible. It's keeping the harmony up between both sides allows me to feel a lot more relaxed. And then gradually I can feel the expansion of my body wanting to happen and letting it happen naturally. Good. Using the breath, inhaling, exhaling. And turning both palms facing down and allowing the hands to come down to the side so we can connect it to our next movement. Yes. How are you guys doing? Good? Excellent. Can you feel how that helps to open up around the shoulders and loosen up a little bit more around the waist as well? Yeah? Good. So rowing the boat in the middle of the lake. Since we just worked on loosening up our shoulders, we're going to use these new loose and efficient shoulders to rotate our arms before we rise so that our hands can go up and then turn the palm forward, allowing our arms to come down and pushing on the water. Opening the shoulders, rotating through, rising our arms all the way up, turning the palm forward and dropping them. So let me go here. So here, if I try to just turn my palm, I notice that they go more or less forward, but not so much to the side. But if I allow my shoulders to roll and open, then I can a lot more easily turn my palm all the way to the side. So this is where we want this opening of the shoulders, rotating the palm out, and then my arms will be able to lift all the way up without effort. Once I'm here, my palm turn forward, and then I can allow my arms to gently drop, almost feeling like if I'm pushing a big cloud down, and then it becomes kind of liquid, a river where I'm pushing water in order to move forward. And here, opening the shoulders, turning the arms so that my palm face out, and then rising up. Turning the palm forward, exhale, allowing the sinking to come and go down. Inhale, rotate the shoulders, rising the arms up, turning the palm forward, exhale, gently coming down, feeling how the air around me becomes thicker and thicker as I'm coming down. Inhale. Turning the palm forward, exhale. Following your own breathing rhythm. So if you need to do the movement faster, go on. And just allowing the breath to guide your movement. When you start your inhale, your arms turn and start to rise. And when you start your exhale, your arms come down to the front, all the way down. Up and down. Continue doing it so I can observe you a little bit. Good. Excellent. So, small details to improve the feeling through the movements. As my hands are coming down, I want to maintain my palm facing behind me all the way until I reach the line where my arms are aligned with my body. So here, even though my knees are bent and my torso is slightly at an angle, my arms don't go behind me. They stay aligned with my torso so that if I was to be straight, my arm is aligned with it. It's because I'm bending a little bit more that my arms look like they're going behind, but in reality, they're still just aligned with my torso. So when I'm pushing down, I allow this push to reach. And here I want to make sure, especially that my arm doesn't go behind because I don't want my shoulder to roll forward. I want my shoulder to start to open, and this will create the rotation so that my hand can go up and that I can bring my arm all the way straight upwards without effort. And when I'm here, I'm not trying to stretch and lift my arm as high as possible. I want to keep my shoulders relaxed so that I can feel that there's no tension on the upper shoulders. rotating my palm out, allowing the arm to gently rise while my shoulders stay relaxed. And once I reach up, then my palm will turn, and try to feel here when your palm turns the changes that it creates in your body, the different sensation that arise from it. And coming down. Bring my hand align with my body before rotating the shoulders, opening, rising up. Feel how you perceive your body when your palms face each other, and feel the difference it creates when you turn your palm forward before and as you start to go down. Up. Rolling, opening the shoulders, spiraling through the arm all the way to the palm, inhaling up. Palm facing each other. Turn forward, exhale, and coming down. Open, inhale. Turning the palm forward, exhale. Let's do one more. Inhale. Up, turn forward, exhale. Good. So, could you guys feel a difference between when the palms face each other and when we rotate them forward just before they start to go down? Yeah? What kind of difference could you feel? I'm curious. Somebody wants to share.
Easy to rotate. Easier to rotate. You can feel, especially in this one, it hurts sometimes. So it's easy to rotate and do it slow and straight up.
Yes. Especially allowing this opening first, unlock the joint for the shoulder so that when we rise, it becomes easier. And then once we're here, it becomes a lot, so it just flow downward. Excellent. Somebody else.
I felt a lot more of the energy kind of rising up along the sides of the arms, out and up as we were moving here. And then as soon as we moved into the forward, more of a downward and in front of the body, kind of forward momentum. Yeah.
Excellent. Somebody else?
When we're up, the energy is it's more like our energy from one hand to the other. And as I'm moving down, I feel like I'm feeling a column of energy through out into the ground.
Excellent. Yes, we're allowing this energy from the earth to pass through us, from the sky, passing through downward. A lot better. Very good. Somebody else who might have similar sensation or maybe something different that they want to share? And we'll redo all first 6 movements together after that also.
For me, it felt like the energy was coming up the governing channel as we raised the arms above the head. And then as we bring the arms down the front, it felt like it was descending down the conceptual vessel.
Yeah, so there's part of the microcosmic orbit that's also into this as well. The general principle within Tai Chi Qigong Shibashi is that we're always using what is called the macrocosmic orbit. So the movement through all of the channels, all 14 major channels plus the Ren and Du. And indeed, in some of these movements, the Renmai and Dumai, as they start to fill up, really have their constant movement going on, so we can feel those aspects as well. To support what Margaret was saying earlier, that rising also helps the rising of the energy from the earth up which feels a little more us, connected. And then once we reach up, we can feel almost like kind of a funnel connecting with the energy from the sky and allowing it to flow through us as we come down. And this difference in sensation between the rising and how simply bringing the hands more forward brings the sensation of falling down and front. So the main aspect I want you guys to start to notice when you're practicing it is how simple hand position can change the way we feel certain aspect of our energy. So if I'm standing here, having both of my palms facing each other, I'm really a bit in that funnel position where I'm gathering the energy from the earth, which is opening, creating a container to receive the energy from the sky coming down. And once I have this connection, and when I turn my palm forward, my whole body is almost like if I'm about to dive. So that downward movements start to happen a lot more. And I just follow it as I'm exhaling. And combining the breath helps us as well to have a stronger sensation with it. Good. So let's redo all the first 6 movements together. Taking a moment to adjust your feet, gently rocking front and back, finding the center spot between the toes and the heels, the left and the right, just so that we can get this central aspect. Our knees are slightly bent, which allow our hips or pelvic bowl to sit on our legs, allowing to open up the sacroiliac joint and freeing up the coccyx and the sacrum so that it can move. Allowing the breath to come deeper into the lower abdomen. And then the thoracic breathing, which helps open up the ribs. Gently turning our palms so that they face behind us. And on your next inhale, allowing your arms to start to rise. Turning the palm forward, the thumb open in front of the eyes, and on the exhale, grabbing the chi and letting it sink down back into the earth. On your inhale, allowing the arm to rise. And on your exhale, allowing the arm to sink. So I'll try to keep an average rhythm. If you feel that you can do it slower, follow your own breathing. And if you feel that I'm still a little too slow for you, you can do it faster. Adapt to your own breath and the speed that you need to follow. It's always the breathing that guides the speed of the movement. Let's do one more. Expanding the chest, allowing the arms to rise just above the collarbone, turning the palm facing each other and expanding. Feeling the opening of the rib cage so that we can breathe deeper, and exhaling, and bring the hands back down. Inhaling up, expanding, still on the inhale, exhaling back and down. Inhale, exhale. Abdominal, thoracic, exhale. Let's do one more. Inhale. Exhale. Waving the rainbow, bringing your hands all the way up, opening to our left. And then as we exhale, moving our arms towards the right. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. In. Out. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Opening the arms to the sides, separating the clouds. Crossing the wrist. Inhaling up. Opening the shoulders, rotating to the palm. Exhale, bringing the arms down. Inhale. Exhale. One more, inhale. Exhale. Here, as we're exhaling, our arms will come towards the front, rotating both palm up. And then our right hand will come down as we inhale, making sure our knees are bent, rotating through the waist. Bringing the hands back in front of the shoulder, bringing from the waist, the torso back facing forward as we exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Feeling the rotation through the shoulders, which turns the forward palm upward. Exhale as we push, bringing the pushing hand above the forearm and above the palm. Inhale. Exhale. In. Out. One more each side. And finishing up with your left palm pushing forward. Then gently turning the palm facing down, rowing the boat in the middle of the lake. Inhale as you rotate the shoulder, bring your arms up. Palm forward, exhale as you're coming down. Feeling the thickness of the air increasing as you come lower. Inhale, feeling lighter and lighter as you go up. And on the exhale, becoming heavier as you reach down into the lake and you start to push on the water to move forward. Inhale. Exhale. One more, inhaling up. Palm forward, exhale down. And staying in Wuji for a minute. Just observing how you're feeling after these exercises. Enjoying the feeling, smiling. Good. And gently rubbing the palms together. Good. How are you guys feeling?
That was wonderful. Thank you, Fabrice.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here.
So just so everybody's aware, Fabrice is going to be joining us the second Monday of every month to continue working through the Shibashi. So,
we're happy to hear
he's getting up super early for us.
We appreciate it.
He's in Mexico.
We like the yawns that you do every now and then.
They're just very fulfilling.
And understandable.
Lazy. I like that.
Yes, the good lazy.
Good lazy.
Too often lazy is associated with a negative perspective, but you have to be extremely efficient to be lazy. Otherwise, you're not doing anything and nothing happened. You would just die a little too quickly. But in order to live a long life and to be lazy at the same time, that means that everything that you do has to function as well as efficiently as possible. Therefore, you have more time to just really enjoy not doing anything.
Really be lazy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
See you next month.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Fabrice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See everyone on Thursday.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Smooches.
This was great. Thank you.
Mm.